Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Can I do a sound check first? Can everybody hear me? If you can hear me, type into the chat box that you can hear me. Very good. Hi, Gary. Good to see all of you. Okay, excellent. So sound is all right. Okay, so right. I see quite a few familiar names here, I think, but then there are also some that I've not seen the names before. So let me introduce myself. Okay, my name is Ewan. So I'll be your facilitator for the next couple of hours for this particular topic. Now, you saw a little bit of an intro blurb about me, but just a few more details here. I'm a practicing career coach. I have my own coaching practice called Life Work Consulting, and I've been doing this practice for this is my 7th year. Okay, as far as conducting workshops like this for WSG, I think I've been doing it for about 4 years already. And this particular topic is really, how should I put it? It's actually quite popular. Popular in the sense that I keep getting requested to deliver this topic for the last few years as well. I'm pretty excited to be here today. So hopefully you guys are as well. Right, today is post-National Day, so there's still the buzz from the National Day, right? So hopefully you had a good time at the parade, at least watching it or on TV itself, and you're still feeling the zzz from all the excitement from yesterday, huh? Okay. The other thing that I'm really excited about is because for the first time today, I'm actually using a new feature that was introduced by PowerPoint. It is a feature that I was looking forward to for a long time. Okay, so I'm testing this out today. If those of you who have been to my past workshops before, you might actually detect what this feature is. I can tell you about it later on. But the thing here about the new PowerPoint feature is that it may actually take up a lot of resources. That's what I'm trying to test out now. So hopefully there's no technical hitch from there. Huh? The other thing I'm excited about is really this chair. You can see this behind me now, okay? This is a chair that I took over from my son because my old chair, yesterday, suddenly I was testing everything and suddenly my chair started sinking down. I think the air piston was gone. So I quickly called out my son and said, hey, you got your spare chair with me? Oh, okay, borrow. Then last night I was taking it, squeezing into my car and then bringing it here. All these gaming chairs are really huge, right? So I don't know how I managed to squeeze into the car. But anyway, so I'm happy about this because it's a chair that I've always wanted to buy, but since he already had it and it's a spare one, he passed it to me. So yay! This is called upcycling, or is it called recycling itself, right? Okay. Now, this topic, this particular topic about the hidden job market, one of the reasons why I get so excited about this is because I feel this topic is something every job seeker must know. Okay. I mean, anybody who's interested in pushing your career forward, who's looking at new opportunities, you need to know what this is all about, right? In today's modern world, so many things about the job market has changed. The old traditional ways of looking for jobs no longer apply as much as before. Okay, so this notion of looking at a job, the hidden job is so critical that if you don't know much about this, know how to go forward about this, then you are really handicapped. And this also applies especially to particular groups of people, which I'll elaborate on later on. All right. Okay. So now, before I go on, what I like to do is I want to conduct a short poll among you guys. Okay. This poll is really all about telling me what your career stage is right at the moment. All right. So you're going to ask a few simple questions. I'm going to flash the poll up right now. All right, if you can see it on the screen. Yep, you can see on the screen. So basically, you should answer a few questions, whether you're employed, unemployed. So you can actually choose more than one. All right, so please do help me fill this up so I know how it is. Okay, so let me just see if, okay, we have about 59 people here. So hopefully at least half or 80% fill this up. Andrew, yes, thank you so much for letting me know. My video lags a bit because of the resources. So later on, I explain actually how there's some alternatives that you can see, how we can get around this. Okay, so Andrew, bear with me for a while. Huh? Okay, about 69% have filled up. 74, 80%. Oh, very good. Okay, so we've hit the 80% mark now. So let me just open this up, leave it open for another maybe 30 seconds or so. If it stabilizes, then we can close the poll and see where we are. All right, okay. All right, so we're hovering around 80%. So I think If nobody else is filling up, then let me just end the poll. Okay, so I guess you all can see from the results here on the screen already, right? So I think 42% are unemployed. Okay, most of you are in a mature uh, um, career stage, and it's over 45. Quite a few contemplating a career switch. Okay, a small minority is coming back to work. All right, okay, so thank you so much for letting me. Okay, mid-career also quite a few. So 24% plus 30%, 60, well, 55, just above 55, about 55% above 30. Okay, good. Let me just close this. Let me just end this. Okay, all right. Okay, so like I was saying just now, okay, the reason why the hidden job opportunity is so critical is really because the traditional job search strategies are no longer applicable. Okay, now those of you who have been in the job market for a long time, who have searched for jobs before, can you type into the chat box what were the typical ways you found your job, or what were the typical ways you actually looked for your jobs? Can you type into the chat box? How did you find your jobs? Okay, so online, resume, through friends, job portals, LinkedIn, applied and call for interview. Okay, agent job, street job portal. Okay, social media, I like that. Social media recommendations. Okay, very good. Thank you so much. All right, so essentially, if you look at it, when we consider in the past, when we applied for jobs, okay, we use a traditional method, right? Which was we see a job advertised in either the newspaper on Saturdays or go through a job portal, and then we just click and apply. Okay. Now, for those of you who have tried that, right, and have not succeeded, okay, there is a very good reason for this. Now, you may fall into a particular group of people who really found that this particular way of applying for a job is no longer effective. In fact, when you were applying for this, you would come across this particular process, right? I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but essentially this is an acronym. It stands for, what does it stand for? You click, you review, you apply, and you pray for something to come back to you. Correct or not? Huh? Because you're waiting for something to come back, but it doesn't happen. Now, why is this so? Why is this so? Okay. Now, this especially happens when you are in a particular group of category. Oh, okay. Typically, you are probably in the following categories. You are either a career switcher, right? Or you are someone who is probably in a more senior age group, okay? Or you are someone who has been absent from from the labor force for a long time. Okay, these are essentially the three groups of people who actually find this traditional way of job search very problematic. All right. Now, we all know this concept of the iceberg right now. Okay, we all know the concept of the iceberg, where the majority of the iceberg is actually hidden. So this applies similarly to jobs. The majority of jobs are actually not advertised. Not advertised. Can you tell me, can you give a guess, what is a percentage of jobs that are not advertised? Can you just type into the chat box if you feel, what is a percentage of jobs that are not advertised right now? Hazard a guess. Tracy says 70%, 80%, 80%, 90%, 40%, 70%. Well, those of you who are talking about 80% and above, right? You're essentially hitting the right ballpark. Okay. It may be shocking or surprising to you, but essentially that is what's happening out there. And what I mean by this, that is not advertised, essentially, these are either openings that are confidential. Okay, that means it's not publicized, or really the jobs are out there, but they're actually not in the normal public domain like Job Street or Careers Future or whatever. They will put it maybe in their company website, right? Which means you have to know which company you're going to, right? In order to look for these job opportunities. So what does this mean? This actually means that we need to find a way to identify those companies that are having these opportunities, right? They're not advertised in the public domain. And we have to reach out to them, right? And basically what it means is that we need to develop activities or strategies to attract such opportunities, whether it is making yourself as a magnet for these opportunities or really going out and digging and searching for these hidden opportunities, right? So that's what you need to do. That's what we all need to do, right? But then before we do that, we need to know which companies that we should go for, right? But also if you look at it, we are working backwards now, but you're looking at it then, before we look at what companies we are going for, we then need to know which companies suit us best. Correct, right? So we can't just go for a buckshot approach and go for every company hoping something sticks, right? So we have to go and choose a company, or rather select a company that actually matches what we want, what we can do, right? So ideally, we need to identify what our value add, our unique selling point, so that we can better position ourselves for that company and that career, okay? Now, even before we do this, right, we then need to know what's happening out there in the marketplace, the hiring process and all. So really by understanding how hiring is done, this will then influence the way you look for a job, the way you position yourself in the marketplace. Is that okay? So I'm working backwards from here. So essentially, these are the topics that I'm going to cover today for the next hour plus, an hour and a half or so. Okay, are we okay so far? All right. Now, a little logistics here. You will notice that I have muted everyone here. Okay, we have currently about almost 70 people. Now, based on my past experience, because of the number of people, sometimes inevitably there will be someone who actually accidentally presses on the open button, the voice button, and so it distracts a lot of people. Okay, so I muted all of you. So, however, if you've got questions, please type it into the chat box, your questions, all right? And put the capital letter Q in front of your question so that when I scan the chat box, I can see what the question is very quickly. Is that okay? All right. Then the other thing here is this. I will answer your questions at the end of every section. There is a good reason for this, rather at in between each section. So you see all the different topics here. Each topic is a section. I'll answer questions at the end of those sections itself. Okay. And lastly, because it is only about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, I can't give you a lot of breaks, but somewhere halfway through, maybe about 3 o'clock or 3 plus, right? I'll be able to give you maybe a 10 or 15-minute break. It just depends on how much I can cover. Is that all right, everyone? Okay, so right now, coming back to somebody's question about this, like you will notice in your screen, if you look at the speaker view, all right, you will see a picture of me talking. It's the same screen that I'm sharing with you on the big screen, right? Now, there's a very good reason for this. The big screen that you see now, okay, has higher resolution, okay? But because of the interface that Zoom has with sharing big screen PowerPoint presentations, there is sometimes a lag, okay? So some people get annoyed by the lag, but what you can do is you refer to the speaker view and look at a smaller box, and then basically you just click on speaker view and it becomes bigger for you. Then down there, the lag is lesser, I believe, but the resolution is not so good. Okay, so you have a choice. Now, what I want to tell you is this, and also to answer maybe the potential question that a lot of you have in your head right now. Okay, my answer to the potential question is, sorry, I'm not going to give you PowerPoint slides, copies of the PowerPoint slides. Okay, so that's my answer to that question. However, as you know, this session is recorded. Okay, so I'm going to send your video, the video link to this session itself. Now, the way you will get the video link is towards the end, when I will ask you all to fill in a form so that you can have the email address give to me, and then I will send that link to you. Okay. Now, one thing here is this. All the videos that I'm going to send to you will be edited away the Q&A. Right? The reason I'm editing away the Q&A for the video recording is actually for privacy purposes. Okay, because the video later on is going to be open to the public. So I don't want those of you who ask questions to actually expose yourself in those questions to the public arena. Okay, so another way is also to encourage all of you to stay on to the end so that you don't say, oh, I got video recording, I don't have to stay. All right, so just encourage you all to come in. Okay, so are we okay with this? All right, hopefully this is the process that's agreeable to everyone. Huh? Okay, good. Now, given that this is a relatively smaller group, I want to make it as interactive as possible. So I'm going to ask your reflective questions throughout the whole sessions. Okay, so I'm going to ask your questions. What do you think of this? What are your thoughts? Give me your feedback. Type it into the chat box. Okay, because this is how we interact. Because otherwise, those of you who've gone to other online sessions before, maybe it's just one way. I don't like to work one way. I prefer to get feedback from you guys as well. Is that all right? Okay, so the best way I found most effective for everyone and people who are not constrained is really to type into the chat box, and then we discuss any points on the chat box itself. All right. Okay, good. If there is no serious objections to my process, let us begin. Okay, so the first thing here, let's talk about the hiring process. The hiring process. Okay, so today, basically, this particular section itself, I'm going to focus on how we can interpret the hiring trends and how this will affect the way you find jobs. Okay, so that is the end goal for this section itself. Okay, now, at the end of the day, at the end of this section, the other very, very important thing here you have to understand is really to understand and know how employers think when they're looking for new people. Right? Once you know how they think, then you will know what you need to do. Okay, so I'm going to flip this way of looking at job seeking maybe very differently from other coaches, right? Because other coaches will kind of tell you, oh, you got to talk about this, you got to talk about that, which is fine, right? What I want to do here is add another dimension to this and get you all to think about how the recruiters think. Okay, so that when you know how they think, you are able to say the things that trigger them and get them excited to talk to you or want to see you more. Okay, all right, so that is the key thing here. All right, first things first. Since the majority of you are looking for work, okay, what I want you to do now, that job seekers cap, put it on, all right, and then let me know in the chat box. You have 4 options here: A, headhunter; B, internal; C, advertise; D, your own network; E, referrals. Okay, what is your preferred way or the easiest way that you will look for a job? Can you type the letter into the chat box? What do you feel is your preferred way of looking for a job? Okay, many people say A, or maybe I put the other side. Okay, A, C, advertise; E, referrals; E, C. Okay, quite a few advertise, quite a few E's as well, own network. C's advertising again. All right, okay, good. Right, so that's from your point of view as a job seeker. Okay, remember I said, look at it from the point of view of the employer now. Okay, so employers, so just imagine now you are an employer who's looking for a candidate. All right, you are the employer looking for a candidate. What is your preferred way of looking for a candidate? Can you type it the letter in there? D, own network, referrals. Okay, internal, B. All right, I noticed nobody said A. Right? I noticed nobody said A. Okay, so you hit the jackpot there. You hit the jackpot there. Now you see the difference or not? All right, there is a difference between employers and job seekers in the preferred way of looking to fill the opportunities, or for job seekers to look for jobs. There is a difference. Okay, and what is this difference? What is this different? If I place this category of the jobs, so you got advertised at the top and then intern at the bottom, basically it's a degree. It's a degree, right? It's a path. For job seekers, right? If you're a job seeker, you are actually preferring the advertised way first, right? Then followed, and the last one, internal, right? Because the advertised one is very public, right? You can see the opportunities, then you like to apply for it. You just click, like what I just say, like it's a click, review, apply, and what? And pray something comes in, correct? Right? So that's what most job seekers like to do because it's very obvious, it's very easy to do. You just click and apply. You send in your generic, generic resume, right? One copy, one version resume to every single person, right? Never customized. But what? Potential, the recruiters, the employers, what do? They are in the entirely opposite way, right? They prefer, firstly, internal, right? Now, someone who's recommended to them, someone they know, right? And if got no choice, right? If they cannot find anybody internal or through their own networks, then they go through the advertised route, right? So you see the polar opposites of the way job seekers prefer and the way employers prefer, right? So that is a very big dichotomy here. And there's a reason for this as well. There's a reason for this, right? If you look at it, when there's an advertisement that comes out, okay, how many applications do you think a recruiter or an employer gets when they advertise for a job? Can you type in the chat box? What is your guess of the number of applications that they receive, that they have to go through? Those of you who are in HR now or who are employers now, just tell me, how many applications do you receive? Some say hundreds, more than 200, hundreds, 300s, right? It's a lot. It's a lot, right? Definitely more than 100, okay? Sometimes maybe, in the old days when the market was bad, right? We were looking at probably around 300 to 500 for every single job that's advertised out there, okay? So can you imagine from the employer's point of view, you get so many across your table, right? So this extra work for you guys or for the employers, right? Then as you go down, you get fewer and fewer potential applicants coming in, all right? Then obviously when it's an internal one, usually you only look at one or two persons and then you offer it to one. Correct enough, right? So this is the process. This is one of the biggest reasons why when employers look for people, that's the preference is go internal first because, you don't have to worry so much. And one of the big reasons why employers prefer this is because employers are risk averse. They don't want to take risks in getting the wrong person. Okay, so the best way to minimize the risk of getting the wrong person is really to either internal or somebody who refers or through your network, right? Do you know why? Why do people prefer internal or through network or referral? What is the biggest reason? Can you all tell me in the chat box, what is the biggest reason that employers prefer internal or referral or through the network? What is the reason for that? There's a very easy reason. Less risky, proven talent, trust, right? Rapport, background check. Essentially, it is the person, the employers know that person better, right? There's a better, compared to the general public, is a relatively higher degree of comfort and trust because either you know the person because he's working in the company, all right? Or the person has been referred to you by another trusted source, okay? Now imagine in today's time, right? When there's a pandemic, okay? Yes, I know the employment opportunities are getting more and more. So a lot of people are saying that it is it's not the buyer's market, it's a seller's market. In other words, you are selling your skills, right? So you see, it's a job seekers market right now. But actually, you still need to consider the fact that employers are still trying to look for the best person. So they are still trying to minimize risk in choosing the right person. Okay, so I want you all to get this first point down first. All right, this notion that employers are risk averse. They don't want to take risks as much as possible. Okay, so that's one key thought I need you all to think of. Okay, so are we okay with this? Are we okay with this? All right. So if you look at it now, there is a gap, right? For job seekers and employers. Employers are risk averse. You want to look for a job. So then your task of looking for a job is really then to convince the employer to take you on board. To convince the employer to take you on board. Okay? So you got to focus on how you convince them. How you convince them. So if you think about it now, I put out there to you guys the preferred way the employers look for a job for candidates. Why do employers feel that way, that employers are risk averse? You as a job seeker now, put on your thinking cap. What do you think you need to do? Can you type in the chat box? What do you think you need to do in light of the information I just given to you? Can you type in the chat box and let's see whether we're on the right track or not? What do you think you need to do as a job seeker? Make ourselves visible and attractive. Gary, thank you so much. Any others? Market yourself well, know how to sell yourself. Build a network. Preparation, I like that here. What else? Learn new skill. A skill, we're going to talk about skills in a little while, but a skill to do what? Okay, very important point. Irene, thank you for bringing that up. Change the method of searching for a job. Obviously, we have to do that. Okay. Upsell. Okay, upsell, cross-sell. In other words, you try to convince the potential employer, right? Mention jargon, align sharing with job requirements. Okay, we need to know the keywords to convince them, relevant skill sets. All right, thank you so much. Now, very, very important points. I just want to summarize all these points because I think many of you have gotten those points itself. I just want to summarize this into a few key categories. Essentially, if you look at it, in today's world, okay, job seekers need to be very, very targeted and custom, right? You need to customize your approach. Remember what I said about the resume? Okay, you cannot have one common resume sent out to every customer already, every recruiter. You have to customize your resume, right? Even the companies that you target, you have to be very, very, even the companies that you apply to, you have to be very, very targeted, right? Next thing you need to understand, which we're going to discuss more in a little while, how you can help them. Okay, how you can help them, right? Somebody mentioned skills. Now, skills, very, very important, but it must be relevant skills, right? So you must remain relevant to the place, to the job that you want to target for. Okay, so its relevancy is important. It's not just the number of skills you have, but how relevant it is to the area that you're going for. Okay, and then the last one, which I believe many of you have mentioned, okay, is relationships. You got to build a network, build relationships, okay, because these are the people that will help market you to new opportunities. These are the people who, when they come across something, they would say, hey, you know, Tracy has got the right skills, or Milani has got the right skills. We let her know. Okay, so relationships are very, very important. Okay, are we okay so far? So this is what we need to do. All right, so I'm coming back to this thing again. Employers are risk averse. So I keep coming back to this because at the end of it, I want you all to have this as a basic understanding. If employers are risk averse, okay, it is not about you anymore, no? Okay, if it's not about you, then what is it about? Can you tell me? What do you think? If it's not about you, then what is it about? Yeah? It is about how you can help them. Okay? All right. I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on this, but this is a phrase I'm going to keep coming back over and over again through the course of the next 2 hours or so. All right? Remember this. Because employers are risk averse, you cannot just talk about yourself anymore. Okay? How good you are. All right? It's important, but you have to make the next step now. You have to understand that you have the skills and experience to help them. Okay, so you got to flip the idea around now and think from that point of view. What is the issue they're facing and how you can help them? Are we okay? All right. So that is the basic understanding I need you all to have. Okay. That's why I'm saying that this is no longer the traditional way of looking for a job. Okay. This is the next step now. Okay. So it is not about you. It is about how you can help them. All right. Okay. So this is what this first section is all about. Interpreting how current hiring trends affect the way we find jobs. Okay, so let's take a look at, I think I saw one question. If I just go on. If you have any questions, please type into the chat box. I'm just going through the chat box now. I remember seeing one question just now. Let me just go into that and see. That's why, now I've got to scan the queue, because if I don't see the queue, I don't know where the question is. Oh dear. Okay, let me see. Oh, no. Okay. What is more than 1 year out of a job? Kim Long Chong asked this. Okay. For those of you who have been, or rather who have been out of the marketplace for a long time, whether it's more than 6 months or 1 year, all right, that is a big challenge. That is a very big challenge, okay? Because your challenge now is to make yourself relevant to the marketplace, okay? Your challenge now is to make sure that people know what you can do, right? So these are the two things that you need to overcome. And I'm going to talk about this in the next couple of sections, right? So for the person who asked that question, hold your horses, because I think it's a very important point. If I don't answer it completely for your satisfaction, please bring it up again. All right. So I think that's very important. Anybody got any other questions regarding the labor market, the hiring trend, how employers are looking at things? Okay, remember, all right, employers are potentially essentially risk averse. So it is not about you, it is about what? How you help them. Okay, so flip your thinking around now. Okay, think about the situation from the employer's point of view. Are we okay? All right. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. All right. So I'm going to talk about this portion on knowing yourself. Okay, so now those of you who maybe have gone to other coaches or maybe even to my previous workshops before, some of it may be familiar to you. All right. Those of you, if this is the first time, maybe what would come across interesting for you is this notion of getting you to deep dive into what motivates you, what drives you. And then you flip it around and try and utilize those elements to see how you can actually appeal to the other party, the opposite party, the people who potentially could hire you. Okay, so this is what we're going to focus on. So identify your USPs, unique selling proposition. Okay, what value add you bring to the table so that you can position yourself better. All right, so that is the key aim here. And eventually, maybe even in the process, help you identify what's the best career option for you. All right, so hopefully that we can come to that in this next half an hour or so. Now, there are lots of ways to find all these things that I meant you see on the chart here, right? Your goals, your skills, your values, your interests. Those of you who have been to other coaches before, obviously this is a very important area. And sometimes we take a lot of time to find out all these particular elements, right? If you have the time, you've got energy, by all means do so, right? You want to go into deep dive the details, by all means do so. Those of you who have been to my workshops before, you know I want to keep things as simple as possible. So actually one of the ways that I found is very, very useful that actually captures all these elements you see here, right? Is just look at things that matter to you. That's all, okay? So just look at what matters to you. Then the next thing you might ask yourself is this: how do I know what matters to me? Obviously, you know what is going to matter to you in your work, in your job, right? It's just a process of putting it down on paper so that you can see it clearly. Okay, so I'm going to suggest to you a template a little template, which if you got a piece of paper or whatever in front of you, you can very quickly actually write this down, right? Again, those of you who want to take screenshots, by all means do so, all right? Or you have the opportunity to do this. I'm just going to go through this template with you, and maybe you do this as a homework so that you can understand what matters to you. All right, this is an exercise, I call it, or it's been called meaningful experiences. Okay, find whatever experiences that you have gone through that are most meaningful to you, that most matter to you. That's why it's called meaningful experience exercise. All right, it's an assessment tool. So very simple. If you have a piece of paper or you want to do it on a Word document, by all means, basically 4 columns here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. On this top column here, you list down your past jobs or maybe even your current job, right? Those of you who are in early career, maybe you don't have a lot of career experiences, you put down activities like CCA or whatever activities you have done, right? So you have done that. Then the second column here, you describe what the activities that are related to the job. What did you do? Okay, you describe the activities itself. The last 2 columns are the ones that's most interesting, the one on the last on the right-hand side. Okay, you put down what you like about each of the activities and what you dislike about each of the jobs. Okay, what you like, what you dislike. Are we okay with this so far? All right, so very simple. All right, so the whole idea is this. When you're going through what you like and don't like about the things that you're doing now, whether it's your job or your CCA or whatever, you very slowly realize that, hey, actually there are a few common things that I like and don't like in the jobs that I do or have done so far. Okay? And the trick here is to spot patterns. And you can only spot patterns if you put down at least 3 past or current activities or jobs that you have. Okay, at least 3. If those of you who have got more, fine, you put it down. Right? The reason why I say it's at least 3 is because then that gives you some idea of a theme, right? Because if you put anything less than 3, sometimes it's just like a coincidence. It doesn't happen that much. Okay, so those of you who have got more, you put it down. So the whole idea about this is really to find a pattern. Okay, right? So if we have more time, I will ask you to go through this now, and then, you know, we have a discussion, but we don't have the time. But one thing I can assure you is this. I've done this exercise with many people, many groups, online and offline, online especially when there's more time. And there will be bound to have people who actually come and say, oh gosh, I never realized that I had those sort of patterns and dislikes in my past jobs before, right? And this is a very powerful way of you actually identifying what you like and don't like and what is meaningful to you. Okay, that's why it's called a meaningful experience exercise. All right. So for those of you who have not done this before, please go and try it out. Okay, because I think it could be very revealing to you. Often when I do this live with people, I always get somebody who comes up to me and say, oh gosh, you know, it's mind blowing. I never realized I was undergoing all those things. Okay, give it a try because I think it is really important for you. Okay, so the end result of this is that it will tell you, okay, what are the things that are most meaningful, that matter to you, because then these are the things that you will look out for when you go for your next job or your next career. Are we okay with this one? All right. If you've got questions about this process, type into the chat box. Huh? If not, I'll go on to the next portion. Okay. All right. Good. So meaningful experience. So this is the first exercise I suggest you all do after the workshop itself. Okay, next one. We're going to talk about skills. Many of you have mentioned skills, and I've made the comment, all right? Skills are important, but what is more important is how you use the skills. Okay. Let me ask you, whatever skills you have, what is the purpose of those skills? Can you tell me in very generic terms, what is the purpose of having those skills? Anyone? Why are skills useful to you or your employer? Gary. Okay. So that's important, right? To accomplish your job, right? To make a living, right? Essentially, what is the purpose of a skill is basically it is a bridge. It is a bridge for anyone to solve problems. Okay. So again, my message here is this. When you have your skills, when you have the understanding of what your skills, and skills here, I also put down experiences, because when you solve problems, it's not only your skills that you use, right? It's your past experiences, correct? Okay. So I want you to think about it in this way. Whatever skills or experiences you have, no matter how broad or how many skills you have, or even how constrained or limited your skills have, if you twist it around and think of the skill, nobody has got any questions regarding doing this. I hope you see the power of being able to craft such messages. Okay, because at the end of the day, this is going to help you communicate better to the potential employers. Okay, so this is a very powerful way. All right. So we've gone through the process of what matters to you. Okay, we've gone through the process of trying to see how you communicate your skills into statements to tell people how you can help them. All right. So this is now all from your end. Now, we got to go to the other end now, which I think a few of you have asked. How do we find the companies? How do we find the companies that suits our expertise, our skills, our experiences? All right. How do we identify the relevant target companies? Okay, so this is what I'm going to talk about over the next 5 to 10 minutes or so. Okay, right. Now, this next process is really creating a bucket list. I'm sure all of you have got bucket lists. You know the concept of bucket list, right? A bucket list is basically, putting together a list of things that you've always wanted to do. So like, for example, here, people you want to meet, holidays that you want to go to. By the way, one of my bucket list holiday destinations is Iceland. Okay, so I want to go there someday. Or maybe you something as you want to say, oh, my bucket list car, that's the car I want to go for, or this is the place I want to live in, or the property I want to live in. That's my bucket list. So the concept is the same. The concept is the same. Creating a bucket list of the company that you want to work for. Okay, what is the ideal company that you want to work for? So these are the steps that I'm suggesting that you can do to actually create the bucket list itself. Okay, so as the name suggests, bucket list means there's a list of companies, not just one company. Yeah? So here, I'm suggesting you do probably between 5 to 10, maybe 8 to 10, not more than 10 if you can, because if you have anything more than 10 companies, the list tends to get a lot of things to do. You get a lot of information which may not be so manageable for you. Okay, so this is what I'm suggesting. Okay, so let's go through this step by step. So the first things first. Company. What company should you identify? How do you get the company? I think all of you will probably have some idea of the ideal company that you want to work for, right? Okay, so how do you do this? Essentially, you either go through the industry that you're targeting or the industry that you want to work in. You scan the industry, you read up what's the trend, what are the growing segments. Maybe you Google or you talk to your friends or your colleagues or whoever. Then you find out and dig to go through and dig deeper about the company profiles. Okay, so this is how you get a list of the companies. All right. Can anybody want to suggest what is an ideal company that you will want to work for? You type into the chat box, maybe so that we can, Glassdoor, yeah, Andrew says Glassdoor can also use. There are a lot of resources that are out there. You just need to make an effort. Okay, Tracy says Disney. Anybody else? Disney is a very interesting company. Yeah, it's a media company. NTUC, Google. Okay, let's use Tracy's example of Disney, shall we? I think that's a very interesting one. Okay, so let's use this example of Disney and say, okay, so then we try and answer this next question. So we all do it together. Okay, so why does this company excite me? Why does this company excite me? So if we're talking about Disney, okay, those of you who are thinking about Disney, why would this company excite you? You got to think about it in terms of your passion, your interest. Okay, so I don't know if Tracy or anybody else would like to put down, why does Disney excite you? Yes, Tracy says fun. It's a fun environment. Could be, yeah, it could be fun. What else? Is there anything else that sort of appeals to you about Disney? Makes people happy, people oriented? Yeah, could be. That's the impression you get, right? Anything else? What about the industries that they work in? Disney has got multiple industries, right? They've got the theme park, they've got entertainment, they've got media, they've got retail, you know, so many use all the different areas. So maybe one of those attracts you. Oh, you love their cartoons from young. Very good, Melanie. I think that's a very, very genuine interest. That's a very genuine way of looking at things, right? I used to have a client who says, I want to work for Coca-Cola. You know why was the reason he said he want to work for Coca-Cola? Right? Because he says, I love the drink. I used to drink Coca-Cola all the time. I mean, that's his passion. Fine. Okay. So you are very clear about that. Okay. So now the next trick is this. If the company excites you, you can understand why the company excites you. Then the next thing here is that you have to understand, how does the company relate to me? And you do that in terms of whether you have your skills, your values, experience, you know, your connection. In other words, why do I fit it? So let's say in the case of Disney, knowing all their different business elements, how do you think you can fit into Disney in terms of your values or your skills or experience, right? Maybe you can say that, oh, I'm a very people-oriented person, right? Oh, I like to work with children. Maybe that's one thing. Or I'm very good with machines because, you know, entertainment, the theme parks, they're very good at the machines. Okay. Next thing here, after that, which is equally important, how can you help? What are the issues can I solve? Remember the exercise that you did just now? This is where you start bringing it into the forefront now. Okay, so for a company like Disney, where it's got a lot of different arms, a lot of different roles, you know, think about this. What issues can you solve? What do you think are the problems Disney is potentially facing right now? This is where you start digging into the company, right? Whether it's through your network or whether it's online, you got to do your digging and find out, okay, Disney is going through some particular areas, or they're doing some activities. This is how I can help. I'll share with you an example of a client who many years ago wanted to join Amazon. Okay, those of you who've been to my workshop before, you have heard this example. He wanted to work in Amazon because he was from logistics and freight, right? Then when he heard that Amazon was coming to Singapore and setting up a Southeast Asia operations in Singapore itself, he started digging into it. And then he looked at these issues. No, how can I help Amazon? And basically it's because his experience in setting up operations, looking after freight and shipment, logistics, and all, those are the things that he can help Amazon on. But he only knew about this once he dig deeper, he did some research. Okay, so that is the legwork you need to do, right? So again, like I keep repeating myself, going after jobs that are not publicized, that are hidden, it takes an effort. You need to put effort in. Okay, so what issues can you solve? Very, very important. Huh? So are we okay so far? Are we okay so far? Yeah. So any problems at this stage? So we've gone through identifying the companies, we've gone through why the company excites me, how does it relate to me? And then, the very important part is how I can help the company. So once you have a list, maybe more than one company, you got maybe 5 or 10 companies already drawn up, you've done that. The next part here is really understanding the theme. I mean, what's common between the companies? It could be same industry, it could be the same product, maybe the culture is all very similar, it could be all in the same geography, or maybe they're all serving the same customer segment. Maybe they're serving children, or they're serving people who like electronics, like Google or Apple, or people who are very keen on new phones, that sort of thing, right? Now, the reason why putting and understanding the theme is important is because next time when you see a company and you look, hey, the company looks very interesting. Can I potentially help, or can it be part of my bucket list? Then you start looking, does this company fall into any of the themes that you've identified in your previous list? If it does, by all means, you can put it in. Okay. But if it doesn't fall in, then you have to ask yourself, hey, do I really bring value to that company? Okay. So there we have it. Okay, this is the process of looking out for a bucket list of companies and digging deeper into the process. All right, so take a screenshot of this if you like. All right, so essentially it involves a lot of legwork for you to go in, identify the companies, how it relates to you, what excites you about the company, but very, very importantly, how you can help the company. And the only way you know how you can help the company is really to do a lot of research into finding out what sort of things they are doing, what sort of activities they are undergoing, and then, what sort of plans, what sort of new industries, and maybe even we'll talk about, the any growing pains, or maybe it's not growing, maybe they're declining, and why are they declining? You have to do your research on that. Okay. Questions at this point? Questions at this point? Anybody got any questions? Okay, so let's move on. Let's move on. All right. So we spent the last 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes or so, really going through this whole process of identifying what our key unique selling points are, propositions are, what's our value add, what we bring to the table, so that we can better position ourselves to target the right career, to target the right company that we want to work at. Okay, so now let's move on to the next one. We already know ourselves, we sort of identify what list of companies that we want. Then how do we reach out to them? How do we reach out to them? Okay, so let's take the next maybe 15 minutes or so undergoing that. Okay, here we're going to focus on a couple of things. We're going to focus on how we attract opportunities. Okay, in other words, the pull factor, how to be a magnet. Then the other one is, how do we reach out to them? How do we reach out to them? So a pull and a push, so to speak. Okay, so that's how we're going to focus on. Right, underlying all this is this notion again, right? Employers are risk averse. It's not about you. What? It's not about you. It's about how you can help them. All right. Okay. Chong Kim Long, you've got a question here, which I think is very relevant to the next section I'm going to answer you. Okay, so I'm going to come back to that in a little while. All right, let's talk about the pull factor first. How to be a magnet. How to be a magnet for opportunities that are not publicized. Okay, essentially, you're looking at, telling people who you are. And this is essentially personal branding. Now, I've done a workshop on this before, right? Multiple workshops on this actually for WSG. So maybe you keep a lookout on when this is going to come up. But essentially, what we're looking at is, how do we tell people what we are good at? In other words, how do we tell people that we can help solve their problems, the type of problems that we can solve? Okay. Now, in today's world, yes, there's offline branding. That means you go and meet people and all that. But the bulk of the way we do personal branding nowadays is through social media. Like it or not, that is the world today that we are in. Okay. And doing and being very cognizant of the social media platforms will allow our reach to be much wider. Then we get more opportunities. Right? So our opportunities will not just be within our immediate circle, but it could be wider, maybe even beyond Singapore, beyond in more geographic terms. Okay, so I don't want you to ignore the potential of leveraging on social media to get your message across. Okay, so now again, the other important factor here is this, right? Why do we want to look at social media? It's simply because the employers, the recruiters are looking at it. Okay, so nearly all recruiters use LinkedIn, very, very key platform. I'm going to talk about LinkedIn in a while, but over 40% also say they also search Twitter and Facebook. Okay, so you can see the persuasiveness of social media in telling other people who we are. Okay. 93% of hiring managers review candidate profiles even before they make contact. So imagine people are looking at your profiles on social media before they actually call you up, right? Why do they do this? So that they can look at, well, on the one hand, they look at your professional experience, definitely, okay? But this thing part are highlighted, mutual connections. They want to know whether there's somebody they know we have in common with them, all right? Because then this gives them an opportunity to talk to the person that they know you, right? And obviously, they also look at previous work, and then from there, they try and gauge how well you fit into their requirements. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit over the next few slides on just one platform, which is LinkedIn. That is the platform that's most commonly used. Okay, and for the purpose of today's session is if you are in the creative circles and maybe LinkedIn is not so prevalent for you, you think that Twitter or whatever is more relevant for you, the basic principle still stands. Okay, the basic principle still stands. But I'm going to talk essentially about LinkedIn, all right? But this is not a LinkedIn workshop, so I'm going to just go through very quickly what LinkedIn is all about, what are the key considerations first. Okay. Right. Key considerations. LinkedIn is a very good platform to allow you to build your brand and reputation. Okay. Build relationships, create your network, right? But you got to give them a reason for connecting up with you. I'm going to talk about that in a little while. Okay. What is the reason that entices people to come and join your network? You also want to make it easy for them to reach out to you. Right? And this one is so important. Please don't neglect this. Whatever messages you post on, whether it's LinkedIn or other social media, be consistent. All right, be consistent about the interest areas, about your strengths, about the type of things that you want to do. Be consistent. Don't jump all over the place, because once you're inconsistent, the people who are looking at you for opportunities, they'll be quite confused. Say, oh, wait, actually, what is this person all about? Because the first impression counts. Okay, so those are the things. How do we essentially try and use LinkedIn is really in two categories, right? Defining ourselves and marketing ourselves. And these two categories would apply to other social media platforms as well. Okay, so I think you just look at it on a broad generic scale first. So defining yourself and marketing yourself. Using keywords, okay, that's relevant to your industry. So you got to identify what are the keywords that's relevant to your industry or your role. Okay, put down problem-solving statements and what your unique selling points are. I'm going to show you an example later. Okay, so put those things down. Having endorsements and recommendations are very powerful tools, right? Get right people to endorse and recommend you. Because recommendations especially are actually read by a lot of recruiters. They read who recommends you. Okay? Why do they recommend you? Market yourself by joining certain groups, right? Following companies that you want to work for. The reason why this is important is because when you join certain groups or when you follow certain target companies, right? When LinkedIn has an algorithm where if anybody types in a search for particular roles that's relevant to that company, those people that do this in the orange box have followed certain groups that are relevant to that group, that opportunity will come up quite early up in the search bar. Okay, so it's good for you to do that. Share, contribute knowledge, share your opinions about things that's happening out there that's relevant to the area that you want to go for. Okay, so for example, if let's say, using the example of the client who want to work for Amazon, okay, when he builds his personal brand, okay, he shares relevant information about what he has done or what his views are on things that's related to shipping, to logistics, to distribution. Okay, so that reinforces his personal brand in that area. Okay, so I was going to mention that I'll show you an example. So let me pull this out. All right, can you all see this? All right, so if I look at this, okay, I'm not saying my example is a perfect example, but if you look at this, what I'm trying to do here, I don't know if you all can see this. Okay, so the about section here is the place where I actually put down all the keywords and the problem solving statements that I have. Okay, so what do I do? How do I help people? What problems do I solve? Okay, this is the way I do it. You may do it differently, but I'm just giving you an example. There are plenty of good examples out there now. And then how people can contact you. Okay, so you put down maybe your email or your website if you have one. Then writing articles, sharing comments is something that's very useful as well. It reinforces your expertise, your brand. Okay, and then what other activities that you have, all these things are there. Okay, then you notice I put all these things up, then I put down my work experience. Right, so all those things are up there up first before I put down my work experience. And here the work experience, I basically put down things that are relevant, which I think I find people will find it reinforces the branding that I want to go for. Okay. All right, so let's talk about building relationships. Okay, so some of you may think that this is networking. All right, so this is building networking, which is fine. That's another way of looking at it. So building relationships over LinkedIn. Okay, there are many categories of people we contact, right? Can you type into the chat box, what are some of the easiest people to connect up with when you're looking out at LinkedIn? Anyone? Type in the chat box. Colleagues, somebody says colleagues. Any other people? Friends, yeah. Colleagues, friends. So those are the easiest ones, right? What are the most difficult groups of people you want to connect up with? Can you type on what is the most difficult group of people? Tracy is HR. Ex-classmate. Ex-classmate actually not that difficult, right? Can be quite easy. Any other difficult groups of people? Strangers. Well, obviously you got to have a reason why you want to connect up with them. Senior management could be. All right. So these are the categories. Friends, colleagues, alumni are usually the easiest to connect up with, right? People in target company or industry, people who are in your target career or role. These are the next group of people, not so easy as the first group, but you know, if you have got a good way of connecting up, which I'm going to share with you later on, right? Then you know that's a possibility as well. Industries, peers, people who are maybe at the same level as you. That's the next level. Now, if you want to go for higher people, I'm not saying that you shouldn't. Okay, what I'm saying here is that you need to have a good reason why they should connect up with you, and I'm going to talk to you about that in a little while. All right, but I'm going to introduce you to a concept on first level, second level, third level. I always get this question from people when I talk about this. Hey, but then I only got like 10 connections and all that. How am I going to expand my network if I only got 10 people in my network? Okay. First level is people you know directly. That's the first level. Second and third level, research has shown, are actually the levels that has the most impact on your network building plan. Okay. In other words, second level are the people that your first level people know. So it's an indirect connection. All right. Third level are the people that your second level people know. All right. So it doesn't mean that you only have maybe 10, 20 first level direct contacts in your network. Doesn't mean that you're in a bind. Okay. You can actually reach out to the people that they know and then build your network from there. Okay. And that is actually the most important and most impactful group of people that you should be looking out for. Right. And then what do you do when you connect up with them? You know, what is the thing that you look out for? All the different boxes here, if you look at it, you got online, you got offline networking, right? So I'm not going to go into detail with that, but you got the red box and the yellow box there. Can you tell me, when you first connect up with someone, what is your immediate objective of connecting up with that person? Is it in the red box or the yellow box? Can you type into the chat box and tell me, is it in the red box or the yellow box that it will be your immediate objective? So some say red, some say yellow, red, yellow, mostly say yellow. Okay, a couple of say, okay, red is coming back. Okay, let me sort of manage your views about creating relationships. Remember, when you're developing relationships, you go out, you are not asking things from them immediately, right? You want to develop a connection. You want to get to be on friendly terms or cordial terms, right? So you want them to give you information, give you connections, give you referrals. So whenever you reach out to new connections, the yellow box should be your emphasis. Once you have things done in the yellow box properly, the things in the red box will come in. Okay. If you jump straight to the red box, any first person you meet, you say what job opportunities you have, what sort of promotions can you give me? Chances are the person won't want to talk to you. They may think of you, sad to say this, like an insurance salesman. Okay, because people, insurance salesmen, they only contact you if they want you to buy something from them. You don't want to be seen that way, especially when developing new relationships. Okay, so that's the key thing here. So when you're developing a new relationship, it is not about asking for a job. Okay, you want to connect up socially, all right, but not as a job seeker. So you're focusing on the relationship. So you want to try, don't take first, right? Try and give and help as much as you can. Because at the end of the day, you want to develop credibility. All right. Again, this is not a networking workshop, but I just want to go through some myths that we have here. All right. So networking, does it come naturally? What do you guys think? Does it come naturally to you? Maybe to some people it does. And for those people, it comes naturally. They're very lucky. For most of us normal folks, networking doesn't come naturally. It's a skill we have to take. It's a bit like dancing, to be honest. It's a social skill. So you have to practice it. The more you practice, the better you are at it. Okay. Next myth. Extroverts are better networkers. What do you guys think? Are extroverts better? Maybe this is a yes and no answer. Maybe this is a yes and no. Why? Maybe extroverts are very good when they first meet someone. Yes, right? Yeah, as Angel said. Yeah, they're very good when they first meet someone. But for the long term, right? Extroverts, it is not about talking as much as possible, right? Right? Because at the end, you are also wanting to be able to listen, because you also want the other person to share with you. Okay, so in most cases, yes, extroverts are chatty, they're very good at outgoing, but deep connections is not just about talking all the time. So that's why those of you who are introverts, those of us who are introverts, okay, your big power as an introvert is that you are a good listener. And a lot of people like people who are listeners. Okay, so that's the key thing here. All right. Next myth is about knowing as many people as possible. Right? Now, why is this a myth? It doesn't mean that you have 10,000 connections, you are in a better place than someone who has only 200 connections. No. It is about how well you know, and what Angel said, the right people. Okay, how well you know them, the type of relationship you have with them. Okay, so that is very, very important. So at the end of the day, it is not about you, it's about how you can help them. Okay. Okay, I'm going to talk in the next few slides a very, very important area, which is a very useful tool for you to actually reach out to new people. Okay, this is the notion of informational interviews. I'm going to show you a video right now. It's a short video, it's probably about 3 minutes long. Okay, it tells you an overview about what informational interviews are. As you are watching the video, I want you to type into the chat box what are the key points you saw in the video. Then we'll discuss this. Okay, so as you are watching the video, type what you see is happening in the video into the chat box, and then we can discuss about it. Okay.
An informational interview is an amazingly powerful tool. It can help you learn about different types of work you're interested in. And by providing inside perspective, it may even connect you to opportunities you couldn't see from the outside. So let's take a look at what informational interviewing is all about. An informational interview is not a job interview, and it's not a trick you play to get a job. If you're asking for a job and they do have one, then they'll likely start judging whether you're a good fit. And if they don't have one, then that conversation ends there. The key to a successful informational interview is curiosity. With sincere curiosity and good questions about your interviewee's life and experience, you gain insights into their successes and failures, how they got where they are, and what's important to them. Your curiosity will lead to an authentically engaged conversation, which also opens the door for the interviewee to get curious about you. The professional you're speaking with might say something like, "Wow, you're asking some really good questions." And in that transition, informational interviewing becomes even more valuable for someone looking for work. Informational interviews give you an opportunity to see what kinds of work resonate with you and help you determine what communities you would like to be a part of. In a good informational interview, the professional you speak with gets a lot out of the conversation too. They get to discuss their life and their work with someone who's curious about their experience and values their expertise. Plus, they get the pleasure of talking with someone who's genuinely interested in what they do. How do you do it well? Here are 5 tips to get you started. First, do your homework. Take some time to research LinkedIn or other online platforms to learn about the professional you're interviewing. Consider what questions you have about their life and work. The second tip is to try to meet in person. On the phone is okay, but face-to-face is best. 3, always try to buy the coffee or lunch. Your interviewee is giving you their time. Paying is a good way of showing your appreciation and beginning to create a connection. 4, ask your interviewee who else they recommend you talk with. If the interview has gone well, they may be willing to connect you to other professionals you can learn from and who might have opportunities for you. Finally, tip number 5, after the interview, send a thank you. Email is okay, but a handwritten note is even better. And if they asked you to keep them posted on your progress, do so.
All right. A few key things to think about information interviews. Now, this is an activity that is getting more common nowadays. A lot of more people do it. In the old days, it's quite unique, but now in Singapore, a lot more people do it. It takes an effort to reach out. It takes you out of your comfort zone. But at the end of the day, this informational interview is actually a very, very powerful tool, right? Because it allows you to develop your network, right? It allows you to really uncover hidden opportunities. And it allows you to expand your personal branding to more people that you meet, and then the right people as well. And last but not least, doing informational interviews actually allows you to get information, get the right information. Okay. I saw some of you have written comments about the video. So let me sort of summarize these comments and put it this. Informational interview, what is it not? Yeah. Okay. It is not a job interview. Okay. It is not about looking for a job. Okay, it is not about asking for a job. Okay, it is not about you talking about yourself. Yeah, it is not about you talking about yourself. It is about you getting more information from the other person. Okay, so what are the key points here? Okay, you want to, one of the purpose is to create awareness with the person that you're talking to. Okay, so get more information. You want to connect with the person, you got to find something in common, right? So again, I said, do not ask for a job. That's not your purpose. Your focus is on the other party. So you're asking him more questions. At the end of the day, you want to build relationship. You want to get his trust in you. And in order to do all these things, you must be prepared. You must do preparation. So the next few slides, I'm going to cover how you do the preparation. Okay, how you do the preparation. First preparation, know yourself. Something that you already have, I've suggested to you what you can do, all right? But essentially, what sort of person you are, what you want to do, what you're good at, what motivates you, what drives you. You have that weapon ready first, because he is going to ask you those questions, or he or she is going to ask you those questions. So you got to be prepared to answer it in a way that triggers him emotionally as well. All right? How do we do this? All right. Next one, how can this interview help you? This informational interview help you? Right? You have to understand before you reach out to that person, you're going to say, okay, how is this person? What am I going to get? What sort of information should I want from him? Okay. How do I, if I get to know him better, what can happen along the way? Then your research. Before you talk to the person, you got to find out what do you have in common. Okay. You got to find out more about the person, but please don't stalk the person by digging in and say, hey, oh no, I know where your kids are going to school. I know what your partner is doing, blah, blah. Don't do that. Huh? Just know more career-related topics. Okay. Then you prepare questions. Okay. Now I'm gonna go through you what the questions are. Right. So essentially, if you want to take a screenshot of this, by all means do so now. Okay. So these are the 3 areas you do before you actually conduct the informational interview. Okay. Afia says this is more for interviewers rather than interviewees. Well, you are an interviewer, Afia. You are going out to interview that person. All right. So that's the whole process. Okay. You may be right. So let's talk about the things that you want to do while you're conducting the interview itself. How do you conduct the interview? Now, in the interest of time, I'm not going to sort of get you all to give me your thought patterns, because I think normally what I do is at this point is I break you all into groups and get you all to fill up all those blanks, those 4 columns. But essentially the first thing here, okay, when we build trust, right, how do we get the person to trust us? Okay, it's about, getting them to like you, you being very curious, genuine curious, you're really interested in what they do. It is about them. So you're asking them a lot of questions. You want to be interested in what they do, right? Yes, you're prepared to share what you want to do, why you want to do it, and why you're interested in talking to him, or why you are interested in going to the area that he's in, right? And last but not least, find something in common. Find something in common, okay? Lillian is asking, how does one get the person to agree to meet you if the person doesn't know you at all? That's why you have to find something in common. That is the fastest way. Okay, so for example, you say that, oh, we both worked in the same industry, or we both know this person, or we both are working in this same role, or I've seen you in that workshop, I've seen you in that conference, I read your article, something like that, so that you can have a chat. Now, I'm not saying this is 100% foolproof, but this is a better way of connecting out with that person and getting him to talk to you, instead of just cold calling and say, oh, the person doesn't know you at all. Why is it in for him to talk to you? Right? The most effective way of getting a person to talk to you is when common friend or common connection says, hey, maybe you should talk to that person, then you go and talk. So, a lot of the time, if you find that, hey, somebody in your network know another person that you want to connect up with, get that person to introduce you, right? Then from there you go on. Okay, so the trick here is find something in common. Okay, so that's not easy to do. I'm not saying that it's very easy to do, but it's an effort you need to put in. And again, your success rate may not be 100%, but if you do it right, you find something in common, you put the effort in, right? you would be able to get a pretty good success rate. Okay. Next part, what sort of questions do you want to ask? Remember here, you are interviewing him. You're getting his insight, his information, his expertise, understanding why, how he can be so successful. So you're treating that person like an expert, like a mentor. Okay. The ideal is that he becomes your mentor, but initially you treat him as an expert. Okay, so you want to ask them questions. Hey, what made you so successful? What do you think I should do if I want to go into your area? You know, what were your success factors? You know, what did you do in order to get promoted so quickly? So you're asking for their advice. You're asking for their recommendation. So your questions need to be crafted in that way. Okay, so that's the key thing. Yeah. Then the next one, what do you assess? When you're asking him all those questions, these are the things that you need to look out for. What the organization what the organization is looking for, what type of people they're looking for, maybe what type of qualities it takes to succeed in that role or in the organization. And then maybe ask also what are the new projects that that organization is coming up with. So it gives you an idea of opportunities that may not be advertised potentially. Okay, so you are assessing that as he is telling you all this information, you are at the back of your head trying to assess in those terms. All right. And then last, but I think by no means the least important, but actually some people think it's the most important. Obviously, you have to thank them. All right. And then this one, don't let it be the end of the relationship. Follow up. Continue the relationship. Remember, I said it's a relationship. It's not just an interview, it's a relationship. So you follow up. You follow up with things that you promised them that you would do, or you keep them updated of your plans on your progress. And then one very good trick here is that you ask them, hey, I really enjoyed the conversation. Now that you know what I want to do and what plans are, who else do you think I can talk to? Get their inputs on who else that you can talk to. And then can you recommend, maybe can you refer me to him? Right? Just introduce me. Yeah, also can. All right. So your whole aim of this informational interview is really to develop a relationship so that this person will be your marketing agent whenever a new opportunity comes on board. Are we okay? All right. So again, if you want to take a screenshot of this, by all means do that. All right. Okay. So let's move on. So we've gone through the last half an hour. It's 4 o'clock now, so I'm going to close this off with a summary on how we actually reach out to people, okay, how to develop effective activities to attract and to be a magnet, and how do we reach out to build a network of recommenders, so to speak, so that when there's opportunities, they come across opportunities, they will tell you about it, or they will recommend you to those opportunities. Okay. All right. So let me sort of close this off with a list of summary of what we covered, and then maybe I round off with some tips and tricks that I just want to sort of draw everything that we've talked about just now over the last hour and a half or so. Okay, so let's summarize this. So we started at 2 o'clock. It is now 4 o'clock. What do we do? So we essentially looked at the hiring trends. Okay, we looked at what are the hiring trends out there. We focus on how employers think and what you need to do. Okay, essentially, you need to focus on how you actually bridge the gap, how you convince the employer that you are the right fit or you are able to help them. All right. So your attitude, your approach when knowing that this is how the market works is really to be very customized, very targeted, be very clear about how you can help them, your problem-solving area. Make yourself relevant, okay? Whether it's the right skills, right experience, build the right relationships, okay? This is what you need to do. We also talked about how you actually position yourself so that, tell people what your value add is to the table. And really at the end of the day, knowing what matters to you, what skills you have, but very, very importantly, It's not only the skills, but how you use the skills to solve other people's problems. Okay, so I come back to this particular phrase: employers are risk averse. It is not about you; it is about how you can help them. All right. So again, please, if there's nothing else you take away from today's session, I hope you can at least take this away, that think about it from the point of view of the employers. What are they looking for? How can you fulfill their wishes? Right? Just flip it around. Okay. Employers are risk averse. Okay. So be an asset, not a risk. And the best way to be an asset is to become a problem solver. Right? So we talked about how to become a problem solver. Now we talk about how you then attract the opportunities and how you reach out to them. And here we focus on a couple of areas: personal branding online through LinkedIn. Obviously, other platforms, but LinkedIn being the most pervasive is the one that I think most people will focus on. We talk about informational interviews. It is an effort to reach out to people, but it's also a very, very powerful and useful tool. Okay. And by doing that, you basically become a magnet, right? And you develop a network of people that will help you expand your reach to identify those hidden opportunities. Okay. So throughout all those things, I mentioned all those things here. So let's sort of put it all together. Put it all together in some little bite-sized chunks that you all can go out and do. Okay. So the first one is this. All of us thinking, should we look for job opportunities, job openings, right? Can I suggest, instead of looking for job openings, when you are putting together your bucket list, maybe you start thinking, what are the company pain points instead? Okay, what are the issues they are going through? You anticipate what they need. Okay, then you say, oh, I can help them with this. Okay, then the other thing is also looking at is, be open to different ways of working with the organization. Yes, full-time, a lot of you want full-time, but can you consider alternative ways of working with them, whether it's contract or freelance or whatever, because that's better than nothing. And, even at the end of the day, that also gives you valuable experience as well. And it might help you to build your own personal brand in the marketplace. Okay, so that's one part. Now, we are all very focused on saying how good we are, right? Can I suggest, instead of focusing too much on that, try and show people what you can do. And when I say show, there are various ways to do it. Obviously, those of you who are going for opportunities that allows you to demonstrate this, like whether you have a portfolio or whatever, that's great, right? If not, then show evidence through, whether it's online in LinkedIn, show some proof, some evidence. Okay, so for example, if you say you've reached out, expanded into a new marketplace, new country, through experience, give some figures so that they can see, wow, this person has done really well. And then you sort of reinforce that when you have a chance to talk to people, right? Not only during interviews, but even during your relationship building activities. So this becomes an active conversation. It is not a passive conversation where, they ask you a question, then you answer. It becomes, you are both volunteering information. You're both engaging each other. You're telling the person, hey, this is what I can do for you, or this is actually what I did previously. So it excites people. Instead of focusing on your resume, I'm not saying resume is not important, but I think now equally important is what you do on your social media platforms like LinkedIn. You have to show proof on social media as well. So those of you who are still thinking LinkedIn is not such a good platform, I just want you to sort of maybe think about it in a different way. Okay, because the fact of the matter is 100% of recruiters looked at LinkedIn, right, to see what the profile is all about. Okay, so these are the primary ways that many employers go out and find you: social media. Okay, you use social media to nurture connections, all right, build relationships. But social media shouldn't be how should I put it, a dry place. You need to be involved, you need to be responsive. Okay, I know it's very easy, right, for us to post something and just forget about it. It takes a bit of effort to actually build a relationship online as well. So whether you are contributing your information, your expertise through postings, your opinions, or if someone in your network has done something well, you reinforce it by saying, hey, great, that's really good news. You know, I think this really contributes to this particular area, and also you reinforce that. Okay, so at the end of the day, whatever tips that we have here, it is all about being active. It is not about being passive and sitting back and waiting for things to come to you. Those of us who have relied on just applying for advertised jobs, that is a very passive way of looking for jobs. And you're only limiting yourself to the 10 and 20% of opportunities that are up there. Just imagine if you just do a little bit of activity, you just do a little bit of work, the bundle of opportunities that are below the surface that's open to you. Okay, you just need to be active. All right, close off this one. Okay, so a lot of people have requested from me alternative ways of working together. Okay, so you've got my LinkedIn. I saw some people already connected on LinkedIn as well. So that's my LinkedIn address. Okay, at the same time, also, I'm inviting you to come on to the Facebook group that I have, right, where I actually regularly share information about opportunities and job search tips and tricks. Okay, so that's one. So it's called Facebook Life Work Consult. Hopefully it's easy to remember. Okay, so I'm just trying to paste that thing. I don't know why I can't seem to paste the thing here, but I think it's quite easy to remember, Life Work Consult. Okay. Then the other thing that I would ask you all to do is really this. Remember, I talked about providing you with the video, today's video or today's session. Okay, so the only way I can do that is really to get you all to give me the form, all right, so that I can get up your permission to send you the information as well as um, give you the link itself. Okay, so let me just send this thing for you, this URL, OUIJEX. So hopefully this one works. Okay, so that is basically a short form for you to help fill up. It tells me a little bit about what topics that you all want to go for, all right? And at the same time, helps me understand where you're coming from. And then, once you provide me the email address, then I can send the video link to you as well. Okay, and those of you who already done so previously, you don't have to do it again. I think there may be a mistake in this particular email. Let me just do this. Okay. No. Okay. Yeah, I think the second one is the correct one. All right. So that's one. Okay. So hopefully, by all means, no obligation here. Right. Then the next one here, for those of you who are thinking about this topic of career change, right? One alternative is actually you wait for my next workshop on this topic, which I'm not sure when is it going to be. Let me just check on this. When is it going to be? Let me just check on that next topic. Okay. The next topic is on personal branding and coping with change. So not in September, not in August, so maybe October or November. All right. So that's one option. So, or the other option here, then that you all can do is really, I've got an e-course. I got an e-course on this. Oh, the bit.ly is still not right. I'm so sorry about this. I don't know why I can't copy the thing in. Oh, good. Thank you so much, WGL. Thank you so much. All right. So thank you so much. So this particular e-course covers a few chapters. Okay. So if by all means, if you want to go into it, no obligation again, to go and take a look. You can click on that link itself, and then it will just bring you to the chapter. Okay, Srini says there's still a problem, cannot go in. Okay, let me just copy that thing again. Sorry, today don't know why, so much tech issues. I think those of you who've been to my previous workshops will know that this is a very unusual thing. It has never happened to me so badly before. Okay, so hopefully, I don't know why I can't do this at all. I think my lesson here is that I'm not going to use the new PowerPoint feature. It should be small x, is it? Oh, thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is the power of peer support. Okay, so same thing here again. All right, so if you guys are interested in this particular thing, so I've actually opened up a few chapters which have got the free previews on this. So again, I'm going to try and type this bit.ly in again. So if you want to go for this. 3A 5K 8CI. Yep. Okay, so that's the bit.ly show. That one should be correct. So you can go in and take a look. Right. Again, no obligations if you want to have a feel for. And okay, so far, what's happening now with this particular course is that since I launched it in February, I've got over 100 people that signed up for it already. Okay. I think essentially quite a few of them are from attending the workshops like this. So again, that's why I give a special price to people who attend this workshop. Otherwise, it will be 497 if it's in the public. Okay, so that's one. So again, no obligation. You can take a look at it. There are some samples there. You can take a look and see how you feel. Now, the third one, which is something which you may have got inklings for, is really if you are interested in pursuing certification to become a career coach. So I'm one of the few people who actually trains other people to become career coaches in this area. So this course that I'm doing, I'm representing National Career Development Association, which is based in the US. And it is a globally recognized credential. Okay, so if you want to pursue that path, by all means, you can contact me. My email address is there, yw@lifeworkconsulting.com. Okay, so essentially, you're looking at very personalized classes. My class tend to be maximum 6 people, although I do one-on-one as well. And so that's very different from the larger classes. There are other people who conduct this NCDA course, right? But they typically do it in a larger scale. I personally don't find it as effective because I've gone through large-scale classes before. And I've also conducted large-scale classes before. I don't really find it very effective. So my ways I do it is much smaller. Okay. So again, if you are interested, just drop me an email. Okay. And then we can discuss from there. Right? Or you can go to this link again to take a look at it. All right. And those of you, okay, the last part here, which is probably something extra from people here, is this notion of working with me in terms of a coaching client basis. All right. I'm opening this up in case you're interested. You can go to my website there, lifeworkconsulting.com coaching. Okay. And there you will see different packages I have. I actually have a 4-hour one-on-one coaching session package for navigating hidden job market. It's an expansion of what we went through in the last couple of hours. I also do something to help actually career switches. So it's a career redesigning process, and it's a 6-hour coaching process. Okay, so those are the 2 main ones that I do. Then this last one that I do is really for people who already know what they want. They just need some tidying up in terms of how they do outreach, how they do their resume, how they customize their cover letter and LinkedIn or whatever. So this is this smaller scale. So it's not about how well how do you want to change your career, how you want to navigate hidden job market. It's more specific in those techniques area itself. Okay, so if you are keen, you can look at that. If you have attended my workshop, if you feel that you want to take part in the coaching packages, just drop me a note to say you've attended the workshop, and there's a percentage discount as well for people who have attended before. Okay, hopefully you got got something out of today's session. You know, I know it's a lot of things that's happened over in the last couple of years. the way the world has changed, the market has changed, but essentially it also affects the way we look at opportunities. Okay, the notion of hidden opportunities is not new, but I think as essentially over the last few years uh, it's becoming a more hot topic because of the difficulties of people are experiencing in just doing the normal way of finding a job. So hopefully today's short session has helped you. If you feel that you want more information, just feel free to connect up with me, right, over the those points itself, or so the email here and the LinkedIn and all, and I'm happy to try and explain further. Okay, but in the meantime, if you are in the search for new opportunities, for new careers, I wish you good luck. Okay, put in the effort, be more active, be more proactive. Try not to be passive. It takes you need to make an effort to reach out to get the career and job that you want. Okay. So again, thank you so much. It's already 4:35, so I've gone 5 minutes beyond the allotted time frame. So hopefully all of you have found it useful, all right? And I wish you all the best. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone.